If you want your people to work harder, try helping them feel more welcome. You know, the exact opposite of how most companies feel when you step through the doors. So many offices are sterile, inhuman habitats designed to crush souls while cranking up productivity. But here's the rub. Crushed souls won't stay productive for very long. You can squeeze so much blood from a stone until that stone is so tired and pissed off, it decides to roll itself right out the door and write a 0-star Glassdoor review. What if people at your company felt like someone walking into a Disney resort, or the Cosmopolitan at Vegas, or the Rupp Arena at the University of Kentucky for a game against Louisville? These are the places where Taylor Scott honed his hospitality craft. Working at Disney and Cosmopolitan, and growing up in Kentucky as a rabid basketball fan and athlete. Now, he helps others bring that same level of welcome into their own businesses. What changes when you lead with hospitality and people actually feel welcome? Everything. People will go all in to support your mission. People feel comfortable sharing more of their strengths and passions. People feel inspired to push beyond their self-imposed limits. And people start bringing that hospitality to their own teams and to your customers. That's how you get to real, lasting productivity. And that's how you create workplaces that light people up, like the Magic Kingdom or the chandeliers at Cosmo. You'll feel lit up after listening to Taylor. I guarantee it. Welcome to the DesuckifyWork podcast, the show where we cut through the BS and find ways to make work more fun, more human, and less ridiculous. All of which makes your business more profitable, by the way. If you enjoy this episode, please like, share, rate, review, or subscribe to the podcast. Let the desuckifying begin. Here's Taylor. Okay, Taylor Scott, welcome to the DesuckifyWork podcast.
Thank you very much. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, likewise. Before we dig into any of the good stuff you're doing, you want to take a minute and just introduce yourself, tell us what you do and how you came to be doing it?
Sure. My name's Taylor Scott, and I'm born and raised in Eastern Kentucky, an old basketball guy, former high school athlete, turned college athlete, but then really fell in love with the hospitality industry. So professionally, I spent 20 years plus working in the hospitality and entertainment industries, at Walt Disney World, Disneyland, and several years in between in Las Vegas for Wynn and Encore, as well as the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. And for the past 5 or 6 years or so, I did a career transition about 6 years ago now, and became an author, speaker, consultant, and we have created a boutique leadership development consultancy. I do keynotes, I have a small team, and we do what we call live learning experiences, whether it be leadership development or culture cultivating sort of workshops and experiences for organizations large and small, Fortune 100 companies as large as United Airlines, for example, all as sort of like boutique restaurant companies in Portland a couple years ago.
Wow.
That's what we do now. We got 3 books out on the market. Ball the Boardrooms was my first book. Lead with Hospitality was my second book. And just recently, we've come out with our very first leadership fable called Give Hospitality, which is a hopeful story about what happens when we live, work, and love from a place of generosity. So that's a little bit about me.
I appreciate that, Taylor, and I can see a couple of the book covers back there behind you. So we'll dig into those for sure. I think digging into your hospitality experience a bit, because you've kind of like, you went right through the heart of it between Disney and Vegas. I feel like those are 2 of the big capitals of hospitality out there. For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Before we go too deep into that, I wanted to just ask you a couple questions about work in general to kind of set the tone for this DesuckifyWork podcast. I'm curious for you, you've had some interesting experience. What role does work play in your own life?
Yeah, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, like work can, for a guy like me and also my wife, like I just this morning, like just right now, as recently as 3 minutes ago, I said, okay, I got to go. I'm going to do a thing. Good luck today. Have fun. Love you. Bye.
Yeah.
It consumes us.
Yeah.
Because if you are somebody that cares, if you're somebody that has passion, if you're somebody that can't help it, you want to work from a place of purpose.
Yeah.
That includes every facet of your life. And with as much time, and I know how you feel about this, reading up on your work, with as much time as we all spend at work or doing work to make a living, it can totally consume you.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it is such a touchy subject and it's so sensitive and it's so meaningful
Mm-hmm.
for people like us that are trying to do the work that we're doing
Yeah.
to make work a little bit better experience for people than not.
Yeah. I mean, you're touching on something interesting, which is, I mean, I think for a lot of folks, like it or not, it's going to consume a good chunk of your life, right? I always say it's almost half our waking hours, right? And so if you're going to do that, if you can find some meaning in it, find some purpose in it, find some joy in it, then yeah, on the one extreme end, that might push you to kind of overworking because you're just so into it and so obsessed. But if you're working really hard and you don't feel those things, joy, meaning, purpose, etc., oof, that's pure burnout.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Now, that's why I decided to have my mission for Lead with Hospitality LLC, if you will. Whether we operate for another 5 years or another 5 minutes, it's going to be about this one statement. We're in the business. What we hope to do, why we created this, is we want to transform jobs into truly meaningful work. Like you just said.
Yeah.
That could spill over into the rest of everyone's life.
Yeah. What do you say to somebody who says, I get that's good for some people. I can't imagine my job feeling meaningful. What do you say to that person?
I'd probably say something that I grew up hearing in the South,
Yeah. Okay.
which is how's that working out for you?
Yeah.
If you're okay with that, if you're okay with being miserable, if you're okay with being frustrated, if you're okay with not being able to trust anybody, how's that working out? Like how's that serving your soul? How's that serving your life? Look, if people are okay with that, then like it's like the old Mel Robbins thing that she's made famous here in the last 8, 9, 10 months. Let them feel that way and let me decide what I'm going to do next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. And for some people, I think that works sort of, it's like church and state for them. It's work is work and it may suck at times, but they're okay with that. But I think for a lot of other folks, they're working in fields that, they were drawn to at some point and they've just lost it and they've resigned themselves to think, I guess work just can't have purpose, can't have meaning. And so I'm curious because you're coming at this through the hospitality lens. What is it about, approaching work and leadership through the lens of hospitality that allows us to find meaning?
For me, and I know that everyone won't agree with me or won't have the same beliefs or outlook as me.
Yeah.
So I'm answering this, just you asked me the question, so I'm going to tell you why I believe it, why I feel it.
Yeah.
Is hospitality for me has always sort of been symbolic of and been a reflection of my faith. So for me, it's like there's no better way, there's no bigger meaning than, like I'm a Christian. So like for me, it's like when you show up to work, when you show up in a relationship, whether it's work, business, in the community, otherwise, when you come from that place, from a place of hospitality, from a place of generosity, from a place of connecting with people on a human level, serving people before we ask them to do anything at all, engaging with people, spending some time, having some conversation, and then being intentional and purposeful about staying filled up yourself, so that for the purpose of pouring into other people. For me, that just created always back in the day when I was in those jobs that I told you about, that other level of meaning, despite of, and even in light of all the other sort of what I used to call, still do, corporateness that's going on.
Yeah.
Find a higher meaning. Like you can find a reason, to get out of bed. You can find a reason to come in early, stay late, do stuff outside your job description. And then when you go home at night, and then when you're laying down, head hits the pillow, if you're me, like you're on the road 120 days a year or whatever, you're looking at that light at the smoke detector, thinking about all the things you could have done or that you did and how'd you do, you feel so much better about the way you showed up than if you would have just shown up transactionally.
Yeah.
Your time for a paycheck, and then that's it.
I wanna explore the faith thing a little bit more, and I want to come to that back to that a little bit later. But I'm curious if somebody is showing up, and maybe you're working with them, maybe they're part of one of the live learnings or something, and maybe this comes up and they raise their hand and they go, that's not present for me. Whether they were raised with it and lost it or just never were introduced to it, it's not there. Do you have an answer for them in terms of like how they can find a deeper connection to what's going on for them?
Yeah, that comes up in almost every single session we do, whether it's me or my team, because my team will call me. We talk after every session. There's a survey. We go over it. And it started out being like this, okay, that's a standard we're going to have. Now it's just organic. People will like, even when I do a session, I'll text or call one of them. We have this little community and we go, we're like, how did it go? And that is one thing that has been consistent.
Yeah.
Like the amount of people that walk in like this, arms are folded, wide open here we go again. Another training that doesn't mean anything. Another training that doesn't align with the reality of the situation. It comes up all the time. So what we say is it's okay to not be okay. Like that's normal. And what I tell any given audience at any given organization, especially more so now that I have stepped out of sort of these traditional leadership roles where I'm in a company and here's my role in the show and I have this team to do this function. Well, now working with several different companies, this side of the fence, I can look at them right in the eye and say, you can leave. You can go tidy up your resume. And by the way, I've done the same thing. I even still do it now in this current season with all this uncertainty. I don't know if my business is going to be able to still be sustainable. I'm still looking at jobs. I'm still looking at maybe there's a third act or a fourth act for me. But what I honestly tell them is all those things you're talking about, all those things that you're frustrated with here, you can go get that job somewhere else that you believe it will be perfect and it will be better. And all of these things are going to be waiting for you when you get there.
Yeah.
So the secret, that's not so much a secret that we keep, people like you and I keep writing and speaking about. Secret that's not a secret is the work is done inside here.
Yeah.
Like the stuff we can do inside our mindset and our heart set that will change the way we show up to a relationship. And I hate to go back to Mel Robbins yet again, but let's be honest, she's making a lot of sense out here.
Yeah.
She says some really cool nuggets, and one of them I love is it's amazing what happens to the relationship when I change the way I show up to the relationship. Yeah. So like that's what we encourage people to do. And so I've been inspired for years, decades now at this point, from people like yourself who've written these books and get out here and talking about these things that matter. So I have my favorite authors, I have my favorite books. So people like Mark Sanborn, who personally helped me, taught me how to do keynote speeches. He used to hire me he wrote the book, The Fred Factor. 2.0 copies internationally and domestically about a mailman named Fred. Like 4 life-changing principles we can all learn from Fred the Postman. Guys like that who talk about these things, that speak truth to power. John Gordon, don't agree with everything he stands for, whether it be politically or socially or economically. But man, the dude writes some pretty good leadership fables. And so I love what he did with Damon West, the coffee bean. So I'll point people to the sentiment and sort of this analogy of a coffee bean. Have you heard this one?
I don't think so.
I got my own books now. I'm still selling these guys' books. So here's the thing. What happens to a carrot? This is what I'll say. This is literally what I say to those people when they give me that, that type of, I pause everything. I go, let's take a 20-second timeout. I put down my clicker, I sit down. So if there's a place for me to sit down and I say, we have an opportunity to be a coffee bean. And I'll say, what happens to a carrot when you put it in boiling hot water? People be like, well, it gets soft.
Yeah.
What happens to an egg when you put it in boiling, piping hot water? The outside of the egg becomes
harder. Yeah.
What happens to a coffee bean when you put the coffee bean inside piping hot, boiling water? Unlike the carrot, unlike the egg that is impacted by the environment, the coffee bean impacts its environment.
Interesting.
Yet another Mel Robbins thing I just saw yesterday was the leaders bring the weather. So that's the message to these people. And you can see it. You can feel it. It's like a cartoon. You can see a light bulb going on above their head in the middle of this, ballroom or training room, wherever we are. And they'll be like, people slowly but surely start to write some stuff down. But it just comes back to humanness. Like we give the type of energy we want to get back.
Yeah.
Those are just long way around the mountain. That's what I
like the leaders bring the weather, and the coffee bean, similar story there. I think for whatever reason, a lot of us can feel like everything's happening to us, right? And to some extent, when you're younger and you're more lower in the organization, you do have less levers you can pull, and so you're often left wondering, like, when will things change? And then suddenly you wake up and you're a director of something or a VP of something, and you're saying, when will things change? And then it's like, wait a second.
Exactly.
I'm one of the people who does that, you know, and that's like that's a wake up moment that I don't think it always hits people. I think people still feel sort of trapped in this corporateness, as you talk about it, as opposed to realizing they're now in a position to affect its environment, as you say, with the coffee bean.
And one of the hardest things for people like us, and people like you talking about, that they care and their passion, or else they wouldn't have reacted that way in that setting. They wouldn't have been courageous enough to even speak up. They didn't. So there's something there. It's like where there's smoke, there's fire. It's just realizing that people in the authority, like the top leaders anywhere any of us work, or for like my clients, like there are people that are holding the keys, the gatekeepers. I can't control them, which is the hardest part for like go-getters and like type A and like people that work hard and people that want better, they want more, progressive mindset kind of thing. But something I've learned, and I don't know about you, I'd be interested to see what you think about this, or any of the people watching, is you never know when people that like you think don't listen to you, that you think don't care what you're saying, people that you think don't really see you. You never really know, like stuff you say, stuff you do, and more importantly, how you do it, how you continue to say it. Even as gross as it may be, it reveals more about your own character. And those people maybe will never admit that. Fired them. They will never have the courage. It's because of their own insecurities that they will never be able to come to, man, TJ, I love the way you just handled that, man. Like I'm freaking VP and you're not yet. And I know but dude, I wish can we have can we get together every so often? I'd love to learn something. Like they'll never gonna say that. But they might be thinking it.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame that we feel like we need to put up our walls so much, and we need to sort of feel like we're playing a game of protect our turf and protect our image and all that stuff, and avoid having what could be really meaningful and fruitful conversations, and that could develop stronger relationships. The example you just gave, I mean, that could turn into a lifelong thing where you're both supporting each other as you're growing in your career, and maybe the one's mentoring the other at first, and then the other moves into a position where they can provide support for the other. And yet we feel like we have to hold it in and look like we've got it all figured out. I want to touch on the word hospitality for a second here, because I wonder if we're all thinking the same thing. Meaning, when I hear hospitality, there's a couple thoughts that come to mind. There is the industry of hospitality that you've worked in, and that can be everything from restaurants to theme parks to hotels and other, travel kind of related stuff. Then there is kind of the maybe slightly more old fashioned word, and Southern hospitality, like that whole thing, and that welcoming feeling, and that like putting it all out there for people. What do you mean by hospitality, and how does it differ from like customer service?
Yeah, I love it. So I'll point to yet another person who has his own books, and I have my own, but I still sell his. Fellow Cornellian, like he went to the Cornell Hotel School for his undergrad. I went to the Cornell Hotel School for my graduate work. There's an MBA focused in hospitality, Cornell Hotel School. So when I was where I wanted to go, I'm like, I got to stay in hospitality, so I chose that one. Will Guidara, who many people may have heard of, you may be familiar with his book, Unreasonable Hospitality. I love his quote that sums it up. Service is black and white, but hospitality is in color.
Mm. Oh, I like that. It's a
So I
richness.
love that sentiment
Mm-hmm.
because it comes from like all the things that we've already talked about. I believe in the way I'm showing up or encouraging other people to show up, whether
Mm-hmm.
in life or as a leader, is what if, and this is what started my own passion project. I mean, Lead with Hospitality was like a working Word document for like 3.5 years
Mm.
before April of 2021, when it, grew up and became a big grown-up book and publisher and in bookstores and stuff. And then
Mm-hmm.
it allowed us to create leadership development experiences based on sort of the tenets and topics.
Mm-hmm.
But from the get-go, it was just thinking about, wait a minute, what if leaders showed up to take care of people in a kind, friendly, and generous way?
Mm-hmm.
How dictionary.com would define hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
What if leaders showed up from that place?
Yeah.
Just like all of our favorite hospitality brands, our favorite hospitality locations, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
your favorite restaurant, your favorite hotel, your favorite resort, your favorite destination,
Mm-hmm.
how we keep going back time and time again to those places. We
Yeah.
keep spending more money. We keep getting inspired to book the next trip, to go on the next cruise,
Mm-hmm.
tell stories about the experience.
Yeah.
So that was what was the root for me of like, we could change the game. We could change the game in leadership. We could change the game with this next generation of leaders that are coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they could have the audacity to show up to lead with hospitality. And the subtitle is a story in itself.
Mm-hmm.
My publisher, Matt Holt, like he called me like probably 3 or 4 months before Lead with Hospitality was released in April of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
It's the middle of the pandemic. I'm
Right.
sitting here where I'm sitting right now in my kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Calls me. He's like, "What are we gonna do with this subtitle, man?" Because at the time, I mean, I'm new. I'm a rookie sort of author.
Yeah.
And at the time, the subtitle was like this: "How to lead and in a world of." He's like, "Too long, man." I'm like, "I don't know, dude. You're the publisher. You tell me.
Mm-hmm.
What should it be?" And he goes, "Well, no, you tell me. What do you want people to like get from the book? What do you want people to ultimately like
Mm-hmm.
away from, even before they even open it, and they'll be able to look at it and go, this is what's in here."
Yeah.
And I go, "I don't know, dude. I've been out here for 20 years. I've had some really good leaders. I've had some really bad leaders, and so many that are somewhere in between.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best brands in the world ever,
Right.
ever." And I'm like, so I just got some things that I've learned, stuff that works, stuff that doesn't work as it relates to like leading and inspiring people. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Okay, what are those things?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't know. Like the best leaders I've ever had, they were human, which made me want to connect with them on a human level even more.
Mm-hmm.
They served like me before they asked me to do anything.
Yeah.
And they're so good at like creating these emotional connections from me to them. And they created an environment where I was so emotionally connected to the brand that we represented."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "All right, good talking to you. I think we got it." And he's like, "How about be human, emotionally connect, and serve selflessly?" I was like, "Sweet. Guess
There
that's
you
why I've
go.
been publishing for 25 years."
Yeah. I mean, I really like the principles in that book, and there's a few things that come out of this idea of leading with hospitality that are interesting to me. One is when I first hear kind of lead with hospitality, my first thought goes leading with it towards your customers, right? And what you're doing is creating a step that makes that actually happen from every touch point in the company. What you're saying is, as leaders, if you show up with hospitality for your people, they will then be inspired to bring that to every customer touch point that they have impact over. And that's a really interesting thing. It's not simply saying, let's go right to the customer. It's let's create that culture here. What changes within an organization when you lead from hospitality that actually creates that inspiration to serve the customers that way? What light bulbs are going off in the team's heads when that happens?
Yeah, for sure. As you know, culture is sort of the collective feeling about what we do, the collective feeling of with whom we do it, collective feeling of for whom we do it. Simon Sinek would point out why we do it.
Yeah.
It's this collective feeling. And leadership is the ability to inspire the right behaviors at the right time among the right people that we can together achieve a collective goal, cause, mission, vision, etc.
Yeah.
So leadership and culture are inseparable in this process.
Mm-hmm.
And culture are two sides of the same coin. So
Yeah.
that's why we believe that when leaders lead with hospitality, frontline teams will deliver memorable hospitality. Just like any given individual, change happens from the inside out.
Yeah.
This is bringing that same concept, that same sentiment, that same belief that any given group of people, change happens from the inside out. 4 main sort of virtues, if you will, as it relates to our organization, Lead with Hospitality LLC. So I'm out here preaching the gospel of, man, you got to have a vision, you got to have a mission, and you got to have your values. Well, our values are connect, serve, engage, inspire.
Okay. Yeah.
What we've got these experiences, leadership perspective through the leadership lens. What does it mean as a leader to connect, serve, engage, inspire? And we've also got frontline experiences where we've got like bellmen and valets and frontline teams, whether it be hospitality industry or other industries, healthcare. What does it look like and feel like for that frontline team to connect, serve, engage, inspire? So that is the parallel, is when leaders are exhibiting these behaviors, when they're bringing those things to life, they're connecting with their teams on a human level. They're serving selflessly, not worrying about their own agenda. Yes, they might have a 2 o'clock, but up until 1:58, I'm out there with my team. I'm going to walk with you. I'm going to talk with you. I'm going to be helping with the cause. They're engaging with people, not just engaging to engage, but purposefully engaging. So really giving their time, giving their talent, giving their heart. And when they are inspiring, when they're staying filled up, they're getting nourished. However they get inspiration. For me, it's like basketball. I live in Las Vegas, so I'm passionate about the Las Vegas Aces at this moment in time during the WNBA season. Jackie Young had a triple-double last night. Asia Wilson started the game 10 for 10, perfect from the field. She ended up with 34 points, 10 rebounds, something like 4, steals, 3 blocks.
Wow.
I mean, that inspired me. Ready to rock and roll today, baby. Well, when leaders are doing that, all the people on their teams are not only seeing it, but they're feeling it. And feeling it, they're learning. They're like, oh, that's the way they just showed up. So now it's almost like osmosis a little bit, but they can't help but be inspired. They can help be inspired to go out there and treat their own coworkers like the leader just treated them, to treat their own guests, customers, and clients like their leaders have been treating them.
Yeah. There's a thing I think that shows up in that book as well. There's a few things. The basic idea of hospitality is sort of making people feel welcome. That's like a starting point. And I think you talk about serving with empathy and making people feel comfortable, which all of those connect for me. And then there's this idea of making people feel significant. And I thought that really struck me, because I think about some of the best experiences I've had, and that can be literally at a resort or an organization like that in the hospitality industry, or it can be a memorable moment with a friend. And that shows up in a lot of those experiences where you feel seen to the level and valued to the level that suddenly you just pick up your shoulders a little bit, you lift your head up a little higher, and you do what you're talking about, where you feel inspired to show up more fully. And that's such a gift, I feel like, when somebody can see you and make you feel more significant. What I'm curious about is how do you How do you do that in a way that shows up with truth and integrity? Because I can see that there might be an experience where that could end up feeling like blowing smoke a little bit, like you're the man, blah, 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 da, 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 as opposed to genuine, I see you, I like what you bring to the table, and I want you to know it. So how do you distinguish between those things and make sure you're doing that in a more authentic way?
Good question. We talk about this a lot in all of our stuff. And we call it meaningful recognition, not just recognition for the sake of recognition. Like, I had a bad habit when I first started in leadership because I'm a former athlete, former point guard, and it was all good job, good job, good job. Out here in leadership, and I'm like running bell services at a big hotel at Disney, and I'm like, good job, good job, good job. And somebody on my team who I really respected, people call me T. Scott once they get to know me. Taylor Scott. And she's like, T. Scott, you tell everybody good job. So when you sell it to me, how I know you like really mean it? Well, so two things. How do you do this in such a way that it's not just blowing smoke, and then the rest becomes meaningful? Got to be specific. So very specific about what it is you do see, what it is you value, what it is you do appreciate. TJ, I appreciate that you not only are asking great questions in this interview right here, but 2 months ago, you had the foresight, you had the mindset of preparation to have a Zoom with me to understand a little bit about me, where I come from, so that you could better prepare for this moment we're in right now. I really appreciate that. I see you for that. And I told about 12 people to buy your book. Specific.
Right.
One is, if we've done the connecting part first, that's why they're in order: connect, serve, engage, inspire. Connected on a human level. We've probably understood a little bit about them and how they prefer to process their information. So as we know, people either are predominantly visually inclined, auditorily inclined, or kinesthetically inclined. So just something that not only the research says it, but I've experienced it. I've lived it on both ends. You have to, all the people listening too. So can we first seek to understand how this person might prefer to digest and process their information? They're visual, then to recognize them, do it somehow visually. It's a card, it's putting it on the poster, putting it in the back office. If auditorily inclined, if they like to process by just listening, then that's in a group setting, in a meeting, in a one-on-one. We're gonna verbalize it with them. Kinesthetic, if they process by doing, it's you just crushed that. And so because of that, I see you, I appreciate it. And you know what? Why don't you go ahead and take like an early break, take an extra break. I'll come out and finish this task for you. Or you know, tomorrow off, go have fun with your family. I'll handle that meeting. That's kinesthetic. So that's number one, be specific. Number two, recognize them in the way that you believe, that you come to learn, that they prefer to process their information.
I really like that. I like how personal that allows the experience to be. I want to touch on your newer book, Give Hospitality. The language of that's interesting, right? Because I think the idea of giving hospitality just like brushes against my brain in an interesting way. What does it mean to give hospitality? And then if you want to give us a little bit about the fable that you use to bring this idea to life.
For sure. Yeah. So it literally means, to me anyway, what the subtitle says. Taking my cues again from Matt Holt. I learned from the last book to this book. So I came up with this one on my own. And this is literally a hopeful story, as if to say, we ain't there yet, man. Like this stuff ain't happening as consistently as we would hope or we would want. But it's a hopeful story of what happens, what could happen, what might happen for you, for your team, for other people in your life, when we show up to work, when we show up in life from a place of generosity, when we live, work, and love from a place of generosity, as if to say, giving of ourselves without expectation of things in return. Literally the definition of generosity. What I do is I just use a story, practice what I preach yet again. I'm all out here. I'm a former Disney guy. I'm about to turn 46 years old, and I got a painting of Up, Disney Pixar movie Up, with Paradise Falls in my kitchen. So I'm a big story guy. Like I love stories. So And I mentioned, these authors that I love, Patrick Lencioni, Mark Sanborn, John Gordon,
Mm-hmm.
stories. And then they do
Yep.
great storytellers. So we tried to pull this off ourselves with
Yeah.
our leadership fable. This is a story of a young up and coming leader named Summer Grace. And
Mm-hmm.
she toxic job with a toxic boss. Stop me if you've heard this one before. She leaves a toxic job with a toxic boss, and she goes to work at a more magical place that I dreamed up in my heart and in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Loose, not so loosely based on places I've worked in the past,
Mm-hmm.
called Kauwela Resorts. So
Mm-hmm.
her Summer Grace, Kauwela Resorts. Kauwela means summertime in Hawaiian.
Mm-hmm.
Some symbolism there. She's feeling nervous, and then later in the story, she finds out, what does Kauwela mean? Oh, it means summertime. So I give away sort of the punchline at the very last paragraph of the story.
Mm-hmm.
It finds out what Kauwela means.
Yeah.
Despite all of her frustrations and all of her nerves and all of her anxiety about starting over somewhere new, when she saw that, she's like, wow, Kauwela means summertime. My name's Summer Grace, so it truly is my time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's happened up until this point has been what I call purposeful primer.
Mm-hmm.
Purposeful primers for setting her up to be able to deliver her magic in this season, in this circumstance. So that's just a side symbolic thing. But the story is about her first 2 weeks on the job when she shows up at Kauwela Resorts, which is known for their positive and productive and inclusive workplace culture.
Mm-hmm.
They have DesuckifyWork, if you will.
Yeah.
Scholars and industry magazines, college professors, they always are like wanting to know, how does Kauwela Resorts do this?
Mm-hmm.
The predominant story here is the week 2. Every single day of week 2, she goes to this orientation experience with her fellow newly hired leaders that are starting their career at Kauwela Resorts, and they talk about the things that matter. And those things that matter are Kauwela Resorts' core values.
Mm-hmm.
Give compassion, give encouragement, give kindness, give hospitality, and give leadership. And what I've done in terms of structuring, my mom was my kindergarten teacher. I'm the son of, the nephew of, the grandson of all teachers. So I like acronyms. That's how I learn, apparently. So what I've chosen, a G word, an I word, a V word, and an E word that I believe when we lean into those GIVE words, it will help us bring to life things like giving compassion, encouragement, kindness, hospitality, and leadership. Leave it to the readers. I'll leave it to the audience to go pick up a copy of that. And at the end of every chapter, what you'll find, and you can go to leadwithhospitality.com and download this action plan, absolutely complimentary, free of charge, that we literally created an action plan for all of us, me included, to hold ourselves accountable, first and foremost. And what would it look like, for example, what would the golden rule look like in my life right now with a couple people on my team, a couple people in my life? Inclusivity look like right now?
Yeah.
With people on my team, in my life, at my company? What would validating other people's strengths look like right now? Partner, as a husband, as a wife, as a significant other.
Yeah.
What would engagement look like right now? So that's just 4 examples. That's GIVE that I believe, lean into those, it brings to life this idea of giving compassion. There's an action plan that goes with it, that the readers will go through the experience reading the story, and they see what Summer Grace and her colleagues are going through. Well, we have a chance to do that in our lives as well. And what I hope is happening, and what I'm getting back from some feedback, it already is happening.
Yeah.
I hope leaders will grab the book, grab a few copies for their teams, and I hope that they download the action plan and use the action plan to have these conversations with their teams. An environment where their teams are talking about things that matter.
Yeah.
Whether they are specifically any given organization's values or not, you're going to end up in a pretty good place if you have a culture of people that show up giving compassion, encouragement, kindness, hospitality, and leadership.
Yeah. I mean, that idea of just talking about things that matter, I can imagine a lot of folks listening or watching this and going, that sounds nice, because it can feel, again, the sort of corporatized workspaces often feel like I spend a lot of time on things that either don't matter or I don't know why they matter, right? And so what shift has to happen for those conversations to happen? Is it simply getting aligned on the values and then kind of communicating them through, or is there more to it to start creating a culture where we're actually talking about the things that matter rather than what feels like busy work kind of stuff for a lot of folks.
That question reminds me of like 20 years ago, I transitioned from being in operations to being in sales. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the first things my new boss in sales said, he's like, "Do you play golf?" I'm like, "No, I'm a basketball guy, dude. I don't know how to play golf." He's like, "That's your first assignment. You got to go learn how to play golf because we're going to be taking clients out to play golf." My roommate at the time, who's still like one of my best friends, he's now a PGA Tour caddy, by the way. Um,
Nice.
He's a really good golfer. I went home that night and I'm like, "Bro, we got to go to the driving range." He's like, "All right, cool, let's go." So we got there and I'm like, "Okay, how do you do it?" I'm a left-handed golfer, which is probably my first problem.
Yeah.
"How do you do it?" He's like, "What?" He like standing over here getting ready to hit. He's like, "What do you mean? How do you do it?" I'm like, "How do you do it?" He's like, he started cracking up. He's like, "You got to do about 100 things at the same time, like correctly.
Right.
Let's start out and just grip it and rip it. And let's see where you are." That reminds me of this question you just asked.
Mm.
Let's change the culture. All right, cool. How do you do it? Well, I had a leader who's now the president of, what do they call it? He's the president of major events integration for the Walt Disney Company
Oh.
over in California, which when I had him as my leader, he was the general manager and senior vice president of Disney Vacation Club.
Okay.
And I was a little old manager of sales at the Disneyland Resort sales site.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, he used to tell me all the time, he's like, "There's no silver bullets. There's no one magical thing." Instead, he's like, at the time, he's like, brands like us, leaders like us that separate us from the pack, it's about doing hundreds of little things consistently.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we are doing what we're doing. That's why I'm trying to like present it in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Out a little bit of a how-to. Sure.
Yeah.
I use principle, illustration, application for how anybody, anywhere, in any industry can bring these things to life. Now, with mentality, all right, maybe you're not down with it, a how-to. Well, how about a story? So, like,
Yeah.
here's the story of like this organization that it's not, and I say it in there in the text. It's
Mm-hmm.
not about anything. Instead, it's hundreds of little things, and the way that leaders can do that, to answer your question, a great start would be to have leaders that are in leadership positions that actually become more human, that actually are courageous enough to take a deep breath and to set their insecurities over here,
Mm-hmm.
betterment of the greater good,
Mm-hmm.
to have tough conversations, to lean in and be honest about mistakes that you've made. And the reason you're sharing those stories is to help people that are on your team not make those same mistakes.
Yeah.
So it has to start from the inside out. And it just fast pass, to use another Disney term. It would be a fast pass to changing cultures when and if leaders in senior leadership roles could find it within themselves to show up in a way that is generous, to show up in a way that is full of empathy for what people might be going through.
Mm-hmm.
And to realize that when we get the relationships right, it's amazing how the results tend to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And the leaders, the greatest teachers, the greatest professors, the greatest pastors, the greatest coaches in sport, they know there's a way to do this, to focus on both the results and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So that probably is the main answer to your question.
Yeah.
Because we get so wrapped up in the results. And the reason we're tied with our bonus. If we don't make it, we're gonna get fired or cut or laid off.
Mm-hmm.
Get it? I've lived it. Trust me. I've been fired like 5 times.
Okay.
Some of they were my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Telling the stories I'm telling. Don't make these same mistakes. Other ones are like, dude, I was out there hustling. I was doing the best I could, and we just didn't make the number. So they'd fire somebody.
Yeah.
Director of sales, if you're in a sales role, well, right, wrong, or indifferent, you're kind of responsible for sales. If it doesn't work, and they got to find somebody that can.
Sure.
But yeah, but there's a way to do it, man. And there's so much tension though. There's so much tension with that because to focus on relationships is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Focus on having conversations with people that we don't really know personally. That's hard.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is not everybody has that level of grit. Not everybody has that level of courage to be able.
Yeah. And when I think about, if I'm the head of a company, CEO or founder or whatever, and and I hear this, there's some part of me that may go like, yeah, I've got to make those numbers. And what you're saying sounds interesting, but the way I know how to make numbers is to basically crush my team and squeeze it out of them. And then we get the numbers. And then if people, can't hack it, then I bring somebody new on. That becomes like the quick and easy way, even though you're leaving a trail of tears in your wake. What if anything, if somebody's operating from that perspective, but they're curious because maybe it's not getting the same results, so they're open, what shifts them to be able to say, okay, I'm willing to try what you're talking about? What usually is that thing?
Same thing as earlier. How's that working out for you?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, and we know from like sports,
Mm-hmm.
you can crush them. You can
Mm-hmm.
yell at them and give them a halftime speech, and they'll come out in the third quarter and get after it on defense. They'll come out and they'll actually box out and get rebounds.
Yeah.
So for the rest of that game, sweet. You just motivated a certain type of behavior.
Yeah.
There's motivation, and then there's inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Tied to that is transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is, as a leader, whatever industry you're in and whatever level of leadership you may find yourself, you can lead from a place of fear, and you can crush them, and you can yell at them, and it'll work in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
It'll absolutely work.
Yeah.
Long term, when you turn around and look at the path of destruction. How's it working out for you? How's your turnover rate? How's all this energy and time that you've had and your team has had to spend to continually reload and select somebody else, hire somebody else, use up those resources on the selection process, use up resources to get them up to speed? How's that working out for you?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like there are no shortcuts. It's like the old adage, many of the old adages, the old cliches, they're cliches for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shortcut to sustainable and profitable long-term success.
Yeah.
No elevator, got to take the stairs.
Yeah.
The stairs here look like things like, in my experience, things like, do you have one-on-ones with your people every single week?
Mm-hmm.
You have team meetings with your team every single week.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, you don't have a team.
Yeah.
Like there's an old saying that says, if you don't meet with your people regularly and stay connected, you don't have a team. You
Right.
got to put boxes on an organizational chart.
Yeah. Yeah, and all of that definitely connects for me. I think, what happens, I think, for a lot of folks is that the work of constantly having to hire new people, the retraining and all that, it almost becomes invisible to you because it becomes so normal. You just think that's what business looks like, and you don't even realize that there's another alternative. So I appreciate that you're putting another alternative in front of us. I want to come back to the faith thing real quick because I'm curious for you. It's obviously a big part of how you show up at work. Do you integrate any stories about your faith into the actual work you do, or do you keep that separate?
The first book I wrote was self-published, called Ball Games to Boardrooms, Leadership, Business, and Life Lessons from Our Coaches We Never Knew We Needed. It's about all the things that we all learned growing up, whether we played basketball, baseball, soccer, gymnastics, dance, volleyball, coaches that shaped us back then. And what if we apply some of these lessons that I look back and I'm like, those things were dimes, man. Those were really powerful. Well, we could apply those same things in our lives today. At work, have more joy and have more success in the long run. To this day, it's the best book I've ever written. I never write another one, by the way. This last one about killed me. So I may never write another. To this day, Ball Games to Boardrooms is probably my best work. My mom tells me that. People that I know as my friends tell me that. People that I've just met and I happen to give it to them because they're a sports person like me.
Yeah.
They tell me, and I believe that. I'm telling you that story is I started off, and that was 8 years ago. 27, I come out in chapter 2 and I talk about God and Jesus.
Yeah.
And there's your plan and his plan and what to do.
Yeah.
My point is, I come out and start talking about God and Jesus and quoting verses, and some people in business in this industry told me, you're going to have a hard time getting hired, bro. You can't just roll into corporate America hurling fire and brimstone. So it's that was heartbreaking. On the other hand, I've learned to now do it a different way. So what I'm hoping is something I heard a pastor say over 10 years ago in a sermon in Seattle. It was my wife's church. She's from Seattle. We dated long distance for a year before best sales job I ever did. Ready? I convinced a Pacific Northwest girl to move to the desert. Greatest move I've ever done in life. No. But when I would go visit her, she would come visit me, we'd go to church. Well, we go to church up there. Judah Smith, great pastor, like famous pastor now. He would always talk about let the gospel do the gospel's work. Gospel do the gospel's work. So here's what I've learned to do. I've learned, and it's challenging, especially in the season right now, a lot of uncertainty. Like you may not know it, you may not see it. I'm hurting on the inside right now. I have so much uncertainty. We just absolutely crushed it in 2024.
Yeah.
More money than I've ever made, probably will ever make in my life. I am in a position now where I'm not sure if that's going to be sustainable. Just not. The way the world is, presidency is, and all the going too deep into that.
Yeah.
Very concerning and very uncertain. But Judah inspired me to just show up from this place. Like Christian literally means little Christ. So when we show up the way that he showed up, the way that Scripture says, the way that all the sermons say, and then the way that stuff that I'm writing about. Give compassion, give encouragement, give kindness, give hospitality, and give leadership. Sounds a lot like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is the gospel that we've sort of like just put some palm trees and pineapples and hospitality slants on it. That's how I should answer your question. That's how I go up in these sessions. And what is neat and what is probably the most meaningful is two things. Is people that I've come to like love and work with the most. My community of the Lead with Hospitality team. We're of like 12 independent contractors, like misfits from corporate America, that we love people so much. We love creating content. We love delivering. We like to talk so much. We love encouraging people so much. We went out on a limb and started our own businesses. Well, now I needed a community. So we call each other and we lean into each other and we keep each other propped up with these same types of sentiments and the word, the power of that. That's one thing. The other thing that's really cool is you can be in these rooms, whether I'm talking to 1,000 people in a big keynote or 25 people at a time in our little live learning experiences and workshops. You can feel when other people feel the same thing. You can feel and you can see, and a lot of times they'll come up like they're coming down front after a service. Like they'll come down and say to you things like, I appreciate how you kind of like wove that in. I knew what you were doing. You didn't really say it. You didn't really say church, Jesus, Bible, pastor, but what you're talking about is fruits of the Spirit. And I was in Hawaii last month. I went to every single island. By the way, the reason I did the Hawaiian theme is we're donating a portion of the proceeds from all this work, the book sales and any other revenue we get as related to this Give Hospitality project. We're donating a portion of proceeds to the Hawaii Community Foundation's Maui Strong Fund to building and the recovery efforts from the wildfires in 20. And so I was down there in Hawaii and I went door to door basically, man. I took a bunch of advanced review copies of the book before it was July 8th that came out. As we're here today, it's now July 30th. So I had like the pretend version of the book, and I was giving it to hotels and restaurants, people that work the front desk, just having conversations like this. And I told this one guy who works the front desk at the Westin Hapuna Beach Resort on the island of Hawaii, which many people call the Big Island, which I learned when I was down there. Locals do not like that you call it the Big Island. It is the island of Hawaii. So I'm there doing my thing, and I'm a big Marriott guy, so I love Westin, the brand. So I'm giving this book to some of the team members in hopes that I get a business card from the general manager so I can come back here, which I did. And I wrote them a handwritten card, sent them an email, sent them the action plan I talked about. And I bought 2,500 copies of this book, and I have sent them all over this country. A lot of them went to any of those Hawaiian islands. The guy was like, what's this even about? And so I told him a little bit about it. And I mentioned compassion, encouragement, kindness, hospitality, leadership. This dude looks me back in the eye, and this answers your question. This is why it keeps me filled up. He goes, man, he's where I got the term fruits of the Spirit. He goes, those are fruits of the spirit.
Mm.
And
Wow.
I just like, thanks, God.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome. Mm. Well, I know I've asked you a fair amount of questions. I want to give you a chance to flip it around and ask our audience a question. What do we got?
My question, I got three questions.
Okay.
I got three questions, and I want you all to make a statement that is going to be related to purpose.
Okay.
So to desuckify work, I will bring it back to the purpose of your work here.
Yeah.
Desuckify work for yourself, to desuckify work for other people that you work with, that you lead. Purpose becomes another fast pass to do that. I learned from a pastor once, a long time ago. I was listening to a sermon. But he did this 4-part series on purpose. So I made it less churchy and more worky so that I could use it in corporate America.
Yeah.
So here's 3 questions and then one statement that you can think about. What is your personal purpose? And once you figure out your personal purpose, you're going to be able to find meaning in anything you do.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to be able to link it to your personal purpose. First question, number 1. What are your strengths? What are 3 strengths that come naturally to you that you do better than most people?
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, what breaks your heart?
Mm.
Number 3, who do you want to help? What are your strengths? What breaks your heart? And who do you want to help? Now, wrestle with that for a day or 2. Sleep on it. Go have a cocktail. Take a walk. Go for a run. Go to the pool. And
Yeah.
you'll come up with, what are my strengths? What breaks my heart? And who do I want to help? You're going to be able to form a statement.
Mm.
My personal purpose is to give my fill in the blank strengths to help fill in the blank people achieve fill in the blank thing.
Mm. Yeah, I love that structure. The what breaks my heart question is the one that really grabs me, because I'm waiting for another, okay, my strengths, and then I'm waiting for you to say, okay, what am I passionate about, or something like that. And it's like that's a thinker. Yeah, I would need to spend some time with that question, but I love that. Well, I appreciate that. I will definitely make sure we can put that to the audience. Obviously they'll hear it in the show, but I'll also put it in the show notes so that people can wrestle with that. If you could wave a magic wand and fully desuckify the world of work, what does that world look like?
A world in which every single person has already perfected the art and science, and they've become proficient in the one leadership skill that I believe is not only the most critical, but it's unfortunately the one that's often missed, most commonly missed. So if I could wave my magic wand, everybody would be really, really good at deploying empathy.
Feel that for sure. Yeah, I love it. All right, now we're going to have a little fun. I do some sound effects on this show. If you listen, you'll hear some cats meowing, some other stuff thrown in, and I invite every guest to add their own sound effects. So do you have a desuckified sound that you can bring into our world?
Nope, I'm going to leave you with this. Ready? When it gets frustrating out there, when you get down, when you start to lose hope, I want you to think about your favorite beach, your favorite one particular harbor, as the late, great Jimmy Buffett would have encouraged us to do. And just, I want you to think about just little steel drums for you there. Little steel drums.
I like it.
Island,
Margaritaville.
little Margaritaville action there.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. Jimmy Buffett, it's funny. I didn't always love his music, and then I kind of came around to it because I came around to the spirit of what he was putting into the world, right? And that increased my enjoyment of his music. It's that beach vibe and that sense of really living.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, that sound will both be in the main body of this podcast and will show up somewhere during the intro. So we'll hear it. It will complement the intro story. Last question for you, T. Scott, if I may be so bold, is how do people find you? How do people learn more about what you're putting out there, your books, your work, all of it?
Leadwithhospitality.com. Pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love to connect. Leadwithhospitality.com. My email is taylor@leadwithhospitality.com. I'm highly active on LinkedIn, Taylor Scott. Just type in Taylor Scott, Lead with Hospitality. I'll usually pop up. And Instagram is T Scott.
Nice.
Of course, we're on Facebook, but would love to connect with you. Hope everyone has a great rest of your summer, and would love to connect with you. I hope you enjoy the book or books if you choose to go out and grab any of the three. We're having a lot of fun with it, and we're already getting some pretty fun feedback from people we've given it to, people that have purchased it. So yeah, best of luck to everybody, and just keep looking up.
Awesome. I appreciate it. And Taylor, thanks for coming on and sharing a lot of wonderful stories, a lot of wisdom, and a lot of inspiration, to use that word that you touched on a lot. I think we're all feeling something coming out of this that makes us want to desuckify work a little more for ourselves and for others. So I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the Desuckify Work podcast. And a huge thanks to Taylor for bringing energy and light to the show. You can follow Taylor on LinkedIn and check out his site at leadwithhospitality.com, where you can learn more about his awesome work and his eye-opening books. If you enjoyed the conversation and would like to help your teams bring their absolute best to work, I invite you to schedule a free half-hour discovery session. Type meow in the calendar invite, and I'll also send you a free Desuckify Work t-shirt. Bye, everyone.